Right. Okay, it should be live. Afternoon, guys. Hope you're all doing well. I plan on leaving this up live on the channel after, kind of as a regular video, so I'll get started straight away. Hopefully just get things set up, make sure they're working. Interested to see how many people we actually get on the live actually though. Of course, don't normally do a live during the week. Sorry, during the day, and in particular on a Tuesday. I was unable to have my normal Monday night live last night, so I thought I would reschedule it for today. So yeah, but I'm interested to see if we do get anyone on. I can't remember, I suppose from a time zone point of view, it's a bit of a strange one because it's 2 o'clock here. Normally the east coast of America is 5 hours behind, but I believe their clocks haven't changed yet, so just now it's 2 instead of, sorry, just now it's 4, just now they're 4 hours behind instead of the normal 5. But that being said, I'm gonna have some Dan Tobacco salty dogs this afternoon. Great tobacco, one of my favourites. Got the plug here, which has a very pungent and kind of full-bodied aroma to it. And if you've ever had salty dogs, you'll kind of understand that kind of fresh plug aroma, to where it's a bit like kind of a chocolate brownie. Really strong, fragrant Virginia's and Perique. Really a blend that's unlike anything else, I would say. But also, I've said it a few times, kind of it's great that it comes in a plug. There's very few plug tobaccos still on the market. Of course, there are some, but compared to what there used to be, not too many. Right, just get this tobacco rubbed out. There's a bit of a stock there. This is quite a big bowl, so it's probably only going to be a half full, without putting in too much of the flake. But yeah, hope you guys are doing well. Thought I would spend some time in the workshop today, as this is one of the days I'm able to. I thought, seeing as I was unable to do my live last night, I would reschedule it for today. So we have, let's fold it back up. We have Dan Tobacco's Salty Dogs, my Northern Briars, which is a great pipe and it is breaking in very nicely. It's a pipe that, from the off, smoked really well actually, but I believe that's to do with the briar that he has available. I think it's all very aged, so unlike some pipes that might need 10-15 bowls for it to kind of really start tasting good, his pipes taste good from off. Alright, get it lit. So yeah, just spent the day in the workshop getting pipes done. Excuse me while I light my pipe. And I'll be honest, I've got a lot to get done in the workshop, not a lot of time. I've got a very busy schedule the next couple of weeks. and in between that I fit in as much pipe making as I can. So I've got a good number of commissions just now on the books. I believe it's 5 or 6 I need to get done. Of course, I try and get at least one available pipe done each week. There was a time where I was getting 2 done, but just now, with everything I've got on, 2 just isn't possible. I will probably go back to 2 pipes eventually, but just now, with what I've got on, a pipe a week is all I can manage just now. But aside that, I also am starting this week the pipes of the year, of which I'm aiming to do 5, but possibly 6, which have a decent number of pipes to release all at once, as of course a limited series being the pipes of the year. So some of you will remember I did just 2 pipes of the year for last year. They're kind of pipes of the year, Christmassy pipes. But from this year onwards, kind of, I won't be doing a Christmas pipe. It's more just a pipe of the year I will be doing. So I plan on getting those started this week. So yeah, it's going to be a busy next kind of 3 or 4 weeks that I'm hoping to get everything achieved. Whether the pipes of the year are finished by the end of November, I'm not too sure. It might be the first week of December. But at the end of the day, as long as they're available this year, that's what matters, because it's of course the pipe of the year, 2023. Evening, oh, I was about to say evening gym, definitely evening. Afternoon gym. Hope we're doing well. Good to see you. Although I am confident it will be morning for you. Just after 2 o'clock here. Good post-lunch pipe. Hmm. 7 AM. Wow, so that is. You are quite far behind. Although I think I'm right in saying that because your clocks haven't changed yet. It would normally be 6 AM. But although saying that, your clocks may have changed in the last couple of days. Because I know ours changed about 2 weeks ago. Ah, okay, that makes sense. I thought so, because I knew last week a lot of the lives were a bit all over the place for me. That's because the clocks hadn't changed, so they were actually an hour earlier for me, but at the same time for you. But if they've jumped back now, yeah, then we're back to normal, in line. This tobacco really is one of my favourites. Because unfortunately I don't have too much of it in the cellar. I might only have a couple of pouches. It's unfortunately a tobacco that's harder and harder to get these days. But unlike some, it is still possible to get. You just have to hunt for it. Afternoon, Hillbilly. Good to see you. Hope you're well. No worries, Jim. Take care. Have a good one. Yeah. Yeah, because I believe our clocks went back about 2 weeks ago, I think. 2 weeks ago on Sunday. So we've been kind of an hour ahead than normal for a couple of weeks, so it's kind of threw everyone off balance a bit. But yeah, got a few pipes underway. One is hopefully this week's available. It's kind of, you can see it's been turned and drilled so far. Still got a lot of shaping and of course pretty much all the stem work to do, but this will be kind of a classic billiard. And in terms of commissions, I've got a slight bent Rhodesian undergo, which will be a nice change of pace. It's a shape I really enjoyed making, but also this one will keep its plateau topped, which I think will look really fantastic once it's finished up. Yeah, it is. It's a blend which, from the very first bowl I had, but I believe I first tried it maybe mid last year. Kind of from the off, it was a fantastic blend. You could really taste the flavours and the complexity. It's got a good bit of strength to it. But again, I always harp on about Dan Tobacco, but they really do use real quality leaf, which I think you can taste. Morning, Patrick. Good to see you. But speaking of pipes, I am in the mood for a new pipe. I said a couple of weeks back that I'm hoping to make myself a pipe each year. So I made this pipe for myself in January of this year. I hope to use this block here to make a pipe for myself this coming January. I might start the pipe this year, but a rule of thumb would be to not smoke it until the new year, which might be a nice thing to actually kind of make this over the festive period, and then on the 1st of January have its maiden voyage. I don't think I've ever done that. I've ever broken in a new pipe on the 1st of January, which could actually be quite a nice thing to start doing, is every New Year's Day start the year off with a new pipe. Because after having sketched this slight bent Rhodesian, I kind of fancy making myself one actually. It's a shape I've always enjoyed. I enjoy the lines of a bulldog, kind of a diamond shank. But at the same time, if you look at my pipes, I don't have any square or diamond shanks. I like a round shank and stem. So for that reason, the Rhodesian's a good compromise. It's got the main stumble of the pipe is almost identical, if not identical, to a bulldog. And then the only difference is when you start to work your way to the shank, is when the Rhodesian is round. It flows into either a saddle bit or a tapered stem. Because of that, that's I think the shape I'm going to go for. This tobacco also burns very well, which is nice. Also planning to, well, I had hoped to make some workshop changes today, although they will have to wait. I have certain days that I'm able to come in the workshop and get pipes done. Today being one of them. And I had ordered a storage rack, how do you explain it? One of the classic kind of metal kind of workshop garage storing racks that you put together that have kind of 4 or 5 shelves. It's kind of, you have a wooden shelf and it's kind of a metal exterior. Easy to build, pretty inexpensive, but I had hoped it would come today. When I ordered it on Amazon Prime, I could have sworn it indicated it would arrive on Tuesday, but in fact it's indicating Wednesday evening now, which is not ideal. I was hoping to get that done when it arrived today, and then start working on pipes, because the workshop, it's tidy, but it's not currently organised in the best way. Whereas if I get this, once I get this storage rack built, it will just clear up some space and should make the workflow much easier. Which from my point of view is ideal, because it just makes the ease of making pipes that's a bit more streamlined. 7L673, let me search that shape up. I'm not too familiar with my Salmonella shapes. Salmonella 673. Yeah, I like that. The 673. That's similar to what I'll be going for. Actually, that's very similar to what this commission will be like. Apart from it's going to be rusticated and have a plateau top. But this is a block of briar which I've had for a good few years. This is part of a job lot of briar I purchased about 4 years ago. Even before I started making pipes, I would make cigar accessories. I ended up purchasing a lot of about 10 or 12 blocks of very high grade briar, this being one of those blocks. You might be able to see the grain even before it's wet. Because this bit here is covered in bird's eye. The plateau, you can see the plateau is extremely fine, which indicates amazing bird's eye underneath here. Of course, for the best orientation, you want to have this as the base, so your shape in here. I'm certainly in the mood for a new pipe. I quite like the process of breaking in a pipe. I don't mind the flavour of new briar, of course I prefer it once it's breaking in. But I like kind of the process of unboxing or purchasing or making a new pipe and then slowly breaking it in over time and seeing how the flavours in the pipe develop. But the point of this block is the last of those batch. So kind of I believe I got 12 or 15 blocks in that original batch of really high grade briar about 4 years ago. Unfortunately, I used probably about half of it, if not more, for cigar accessories, because at the time I didn't make pipes. And the rest I kept, thankfully. And over the last few years, some of those highest grade pipes, like there's been 1 or 2 L grades which came from this batch. There's a few commissions I've used briar from this batch, which has they all had exceptional grain. And there was even quite a large pipe I did, a large apple, that came from this batch, because there was a particular large block. But this is the last one. I kept it aside. It's not the most ideal block of briar. If you take this pipe, for example, if you can see the size of the block, it's not, it will not yield a big pipe. But I don't mind that. I'm quite a fan of smaller size pipes. But if you take my smallest pipe I have, which is the pipe I made myself, this wouldn't even fit in this block. You could make a slightly smaller version of it, but as it stands, this wouldn't fit in the block. So I'm going to have to be creative with this to kind of maximise that amazing briar and the amazing grain I hope it will have once you start to carve into it. But the shape, I've been stuck on the shape for about 2 months now. I've known that this block, because it was the last one in the batch, I wanted to keep it for myself and make a pipe out of it. but it's just the question of what pipe. Because I would quite like kind of a classic Lavat or billiard, but it would be a very small bowl to where, although I like small pipes, I don't like pipes that small. Because to have it straight, you would have your line. I've got a ruler here somewhere. To have it straight, you would essentially have your line about there. So, of course, that gives you a bowl depth of about an inch. So, really not a big pipe at all. Whereas, if I was to do a slight bent pipe, or even a full bent or a half bent, you could draw the bowl down to about here, which would give it a depth of 1.25, 1.3, which isn't obviously a massive bowl, but it's quite a wide block, so you could get away with using a 20 or kind of a 21 or even a 22mm chamber. So there is ways you can work around that to kind of maximise a small piece of briar. But I do think that a Rhodesian would be nice, in particular because it's a shape that I do enjoy. See if we can quickly sketch one out, see what it could potentially look like. Obviously, I'm not going to make this pipe just now, it's a very rough sketch, but it would give you an idea of what could potentially work into this pipe. But yeah, hope you guys are doing well. You're having a good start to your week. You had a good weekend. I will be back to my normal live next Monday, but I'm actually going away for a night on Sunday night, so I'll be back kind of Monday afternoon. I'm hoping to do a video, maybe even a cigar, because we're not going too far. It's just the other side of Scotland. I live on kind of the east coast of Scotland. We're going over to the west coast. It's about a 2-hour drive, not too far, and staying there for a night. But I'm led to believe that where we're staying has a nice balcony kind of terrace. So weather permitting, of course, it's the west coast of Scotland, so it's probably going to be pouring rain. But if it's not, I hope to have a cigar or a pipe outside on the terrace, if I'm fortunate enough. Afternoon, Boris. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Afternoon, Chillax. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well too. So yeah, I might even do a live stream on Sunday from the terrace / balcony, assuming I have one. But yeah, it's just a little way to break up from being from home all the time. It'll probably be the only night away I have from home for a good while. Don't really have any plans of going away anywhere just yet next year. But this salty dog's smoking really well. Afternoon, Cole. Good to see you. Yeah, I wasn't able to do my live last night, unfortunately. So I thought, well, I'm in the workshop this afternoon. Why not just do one? It's very good to see you all. Right, I will try and show you my intentions with this block for myself. Let's try and get this line straight. I'm someone that can never kind of draw or create something on camera because of the way I sketch pipes. Yeah, look, it's a bit squint, but end of the day, this isn't the final drawing, it's just to get an idea of what I'm thinking for the pipe. But either way, it won't be a big bowl, that's for sure. Be quite a small pipe. Which some people wouldn't be a fan of, but I must say, I do like my smaller pipes. I certainly have been for the last couple of months. Right. So this is roughly what I'm thinking of doing. So, of course, this is a very rough sketch. Like, this line I would maybe cut in a bit more here and have this bit more slightly rounded, so it's got a better flow to it. But that's essentially kind of a slightly Danish, slight bent Rhodesian. I think would look fantastic in this block of briar. It kind of, being a Rhodesian, it maximises the briar. Of course, it's not a big, it still isn't a big bowl. It would only be about 1.2, 1.25 inch depth, but because of the size of the block, in terms of diameter, if I get my drill bits, I could, if I wanted to, use a 22mm chamber. But my favourite, for those of you that have been following my channel for a long time, will know that if I take this drill bit, which is a 20mm, it will probably fit in the majority of the pipes here, because that is what I go for. I typically look for a 20mm diameter chamber. That would fit perfectly and give you some, not too thick walls, but it would give you a nice bit of thickness on the pipe. So yeah, that's kind of my rough thoughts of what I'll go for. Yeah, exactly, 100%. I find Virginias, but I think a lot of people will agree that Virginias perform better in slightly smaller bowls. Like, I wouldn't use like a 25mm or kind of 23mm chamber personally for a Virginia. But that is why I'm glad that the majority of stuff I smoke is Virginias and Vapors, which suits me because the majority of my pipes have slightly smaller bowls than some. The block is just over 2 inches wide. So it's not a huge block, but if you compare it to some other blocks, say this block here, this is a really nice, again, top grade block. Nice quality plateau, but the grain here, you can see it without it being wet, it's just perfect straight grain, fantastic. But it's quite a big block, but if you compare the width of this block is slightly bigger both sides. Good point, Cole. Good point. But then again, I find that every pipe can work for every tobacco, because it's partly the way you pack your pipe, but also how much you have. Like, for example, if you're having a straight Virginia, but it's in a quite large bowl, just maybe don't pack the bowl to the rim, and kind of have a half bowl or a quarter bowl where it's slightly more compact, so you can maybe extract some more flavour out of it. Or of course, if you're having a Balkan, then you want a larger bowl. But at the same time, it's personal preference. So some people prefer it in the opposite way. Some people don't think it affects it at all. Kind of, that's what's so good about pipes, is that everyone can have their own opinion and they're right. There's no real wrong answer. It's the same with even pipe making. Kind of course, you have your classic shapes, but then you have kind of the word Danish that you can put before a billiard or an apple or a pot, and you can instantly be a bit more artisanal in your shaping, because that's more of a Danish style compared to if you say this is an English style billiard, then it's a very classic shape that you have to nail to the exact degree. I'm still not sure what I would class my pipe making as. There's definitely a bit of Danish inspiration in there. Kind of, I really like flowing lines. I'm not a big fan of boxy, kind of harsh, sharp lines, which you find more in English pipes. I do prefer a flowing line, but at the same time, I think my pipe making is a real mix of different styles, I would say. But yeah, so I have this storage rack coming, by the looks of it, Wednesday evening, possibly even Thursday. I'm really hoping it's not Thursday, because I'll be back in the workshop on Thursday, so hopefully I can get it built then. But I think once that's built and I've got things organised, I will do a workshop update tour. Because there have been a few changes. Of course, I completely rechanged the orientation of the workshop about 4 months ago. But I never filmed an update video because it was never really organised. But I'm slowly getting the workshop much more organised day by day. When I'm in here, kind of, I'm putting this on the wall or changing this up so this is at a better angle, just to make the workflow better. But also to make this environment better, of course. This has stayed vastly the same since I did the workshop change. But again, there's been things that I've done to kind of make this much more of a cleaner environment, which I'll show you. So expect to see a workshop update maybe sometime next week, once I've kind of got everything organised and sorted the way I like it. Of course, it's still not a great workshop. It isn't like something like you would aspire to have. But it shows that with pipe making, it's not necessarily about the tools you have. Kind of, you don't need everything under the sun. You just need select items. Because realistically, the only things I have in the workshop that you would classify as kind of real tools would be, of course, the lathe. I've got a 12-inch disc sander, I've got a bandsaw, and I've got kind of a proper workshop dust extractor. And really that's it. Those are the main tools, because the rest of the work I do by hand. So I've got a selection of files, obviously, every sandpaper under the sun. And that's it. Kind of, I do the majority of my work on the lathe in terms of shaping and drilling. And then the rest is just by hand. Because many pipe makers will turn and shape the pipe. Sorry, will turn and drill the pipe on the lathe, and then they will go to their dedicated sanding disc to shape the pipe. Where I physically don't have the room for a sanding disc, a dedicated sanding disc. So I just use my lathe, kind of. Just now on my lathe, I have the headstock on. Quickly pan over, excuse the mess of the workshop. So you can see just now I have the chuck on the lathe. But normally, when that's not on, there will just be a sanding disc. Kind of your classic 6 or is it an 8-inch? Can't remember. I think 6-inch diameter sanding disc that you would normally use on a dedicated sanding wheel, but I just use it on the lathe. It's the exact same thing. But I actually prefer it too because I stand while I shape my pipes, whereas many people will sit. But I quite like standing because it means that I then stand for about half the pipe, because half the work on the pipe is turning, drilling, and then shaping it, and then the other half is doing all your stem work and then doing all the hand sanding. And if it's a rusticated pipe, then of course you have the hand process of rusticating. So that's why I actually prefer and haven't pulled the trigger on getting a dedicated sanding setup, is because I don't require one, but I also prefer standing up. Was that the Lovat I made myself about 8 months, but maybe about 8 months ago, or was it the one I sold just on Saturday? Because I did used to have a Lovat of my own. If you guys can remember, it was kind of I would say it's kind of like a medium brown it was, with a Cumberland stem. It was a great pipe, but I just never reached for it. But that is why my pipe rotation changes every year, because if I'm not smoking a pipe, I'd rather not have it, because I believe that all pipes are there to be smoked. And it's a shame if it's just sat on my pipe rack gathering dust. One on Saturday, yeah, that was a nice pipe. I enjoy making those slightly larger pipes. You would think it would be a challenge, but I would say a classic size or a small pipe is much harder to make than a large pipe, because everything's just in a bigger proportion. Whereas I would say the smaller the pipe, the more finer the work is, because it's just that bit smaller. You have to be a bit more careful. Whereas with a larger pipe, you can really work around in terms of shaping. But yeah, that was a nice pipe. Surprisingly, not that heavy. I think it was about 63 to 64 grams, which for a Lovat of that size was pretty good. Slowly coming towards the end of this bowl, but it's smoked really well. But yeah, so after today's live, I'll continue working on this pipe, which I said is hopefully this week's available. And I also need to start work on turning and drilling this pipe, which is a commission I'm doing this week. I've also, I can't remember if I mentioned last week, I can't remember when I ordered it, but I have got some tobacco on order, which is a change. Haven't been buying much tobacco for the last probably 6 or 8 months, but I do have some on order, which I'm looking forward to hopefully receiving soon. It isn't actually anything new, but it's just tobaccos that I enjoy a lot, which I haven't really got much of in the cellar. I'm very cautious about that, so I'm really trying to, from now until maybe next May or June, I'm going to be really focusing on my pipe tobacco cellar and getting it in a place where I'm happy to a certain extent that I've got enough of certain blends that I enjoy. Because I'm definitely not a one blend kind of guy. There was a time that you'd say I probably only smoked 2 different blends, but that was for a very short period of time, maybe a month or 2. These days I smoke kind of anything and everything in terms of vapors, like kind of Salty Dogs, Scudo, Cut Blended Plug. Above that you've got the 2 Formers blends that I enjoy a lot. Of course you've got a lot of the HUs I enjoy. There's a lot of different blends that I enjoy smoking, which I hope to have a cellar of all of them. I think of every blend I enjoy a lot, I do have at least 1 tin of it in the cellar. But I was talking to Mark, Welsh Piper, the other day, and I was kind of said to him that my goal is to always have 10 tins of something. Of course, I don't mind having 100 tins of something, but I have to be realistic to where if I can get, say, my top 10 blends and to have 10 tins of each of them in the cellar, so 100 tins, I'd be happy with that. And then, of course, just add to it slowly when I can, because the more, the better. But I worked out that if I can have 10 tins of everything I really enjoy, that'd be good. Of course, I have other things here and there in the cellar, just random tobaccos. But I don't want anything to happen to my mainstays, to where if they were to shut shop, or if they were to not produce that blend anymore, or with the issues just now with shipping, if that country was to not export tobacco anymore, I want to know that I've got at least a supply of it on hand. Yeah, I'll be honest, I actually had a decent amount of interest in that pipe. After it sold, I must have had about 3 or 4 people inquire about it. It's a popular one. I think the stem was popular too. I've got the rest of the raw stock here. Give me a second. It was this grey and apricot. I can't really see it too well on camera. Of course, this is just in its raw form as the rod. But once you cut into it, it's a really, really good looking stem choice. It's one that I wasn't sure on how it would look once it's turned, but I really, really like it. So I think you might be seeing this more in my pipes. But that's how I work. Of course, I will always use Cumberland and just black for the most part in my pipe making. But I do enjoy exploring kind of different colours here and there. For example, I've got a commission which I am buying in some blue rod stock, which I don't normally use, but for commissions I can order in anything that the commissioner is after. So this particular commissioner is after a blue stem, which I've not done before, but I'm sure once it's on the pipe made, it will look fantastic. Yeah, Dot Worker is it's still the only burley blend that I really enjoy. I've tried about 10 or 12 different burley blends. That one is still the only one really. I mean, I quite like Solani aged burley flake, but there's just something about HU dot worker that's kind of really chocolatey and nutty and bold, but it's not harsh. I find a lot of Burleys can be pretty harsh. Thankfully, that one's not. This is smoking really well now. I find blends like Salty Dogs, because they're a plug, they can be very dense and hold quite a lot of moisture, to where the first, say, couple minutes, 10, 15 minutes of the bowl can be a little bit damp, but once you get kind of halfway down, or 3/4 way down, like I am now, it keeps lit very well, smokes nice and cool. Yeah, it is a great blend. I can't speak. It is a great blend, Boris. They're the only two Burleys I've tried that I actually enjoy. Kind of HH Burley, I tried, didn't enjoy that. Amphora Burley, wasn't a fan. There was one, I can't remember. I'm trying to remember. I think there was a Samuel Gawith or Gavin Hogarth Burley that I tried, which I wasn't a fan of. But essentially, I've tried a lot of Burleys, not been a fan, but my favourite by far is HU dot worker, but I do also enjoy aged Burley Flake. The only downside is that, sorry, a good thing about aged Burley Flake in the UK is that for some reason Solani blends aren't too expensive. I would say that it might even be the most inexpensive tobaccos in the UK. I saw a tin the other day for £17, which isn't cheap, but most tobaccos these days are in the mid-20s. I've got my laptop here. If I go into everyone's favourite GQ tobaccos, if I go to pipe tobacco, I go down to Solani. They've got Solani 656 aged Burley Flake. It's £18, so it's gone up slightly, but still £18 isn't bad here anymore. If I go to Samuel Gawith, you're £19.50 a tin. For example, you go to Robert Lewis, you're £20.15. So a very kind of, the cost of tobacco in the UK is a bit all over the place. Robert McConnell, you're £21.50. So it's like kind of, there's no common theme. But of course, the worst of them all, unfortunately now, is if you go up to everyone's favourite JF Germains. Unfortunately, Germains these days come in at £29 a tin. That's pretty steep. Of course, there's some places in the world like Canada and Australia and New Zealand where tobacco is even more than that. But when you're at £29 a tin, it's pretty crazy, because I've got a decent cellar of Germains. It's primarily Rich Dark Flake and Special Latakia Flake, because that's the two blends I enjoy the most from Germains. But the fact of the matter is, I couldn't afford to go out today and buy my cellar worth of Germains, because just 2.5 years ago, when I bought the majority of my Germain stuff, it was £15 a tin. So it's essentially doubled in price in the last 2 years, which is a pretty insane increase. Of course, certain brands are still relatively affordable. Like I would say these days the average tin of tobacco in the UK is about £20. But as you can see, kind of what I said in terms of cost is a bit all over the place. Kind of some are 18, some are 24, some are 22, some are 29. There's no common theme. Yeah, I tried Solani Silverflake a long time ago. I might have one of the 100-gram tins in my cellar somewhere, maybe. But I'll be honest, I think the cost is affecting people now. Because if I go here, let me move this here. As you can see, this is my laptop. I've got you guys here, so I can see the comments. But this is GQ Tobaccos, which you probably can't see too well, unfortunately. But something I've noticed over the last couple of weeks is this. This is the Germain's packet, and if you go to the Germain's loose, you've got King Charles, and they've got two bags. They've got a bag of special Latakia flake, a bag of full Latakia. And what's interesting about that, in particular, what's interesting about this, is when Germains were 18, £15 a tin, it would come up and it would fly. Instantly, it would go. It would not be in stock. But I've noticed that GQ, for example, because that's who I purchase from the most when I'm buying tobacco from the UK, is they always have some blends in stock. Kind of just the other day they had special Latakia flake in the tin available. And I think it's to do with the price. I think if it was half the cost, it would be much more appealing. I don't think people are that happy to pay £29 a tin, where if you go to, let's say, Samuel Gareth, you can get a tin of 1792 flake or Grevesmore or Navy flake for 1950. Essentially £10 less for the same quantity of tobacco. If you go to Nordens, they're £22. Ashton, it's £18. Eric Stokeby, 1865, £19. McBaron's, £20.49. So kind of there is a massive difference between the cost of different brands now that there never used to be. There never used to really be any difference. Whereas obviously Germains have increased their prices a lot over the last 2 years. Yeah, I'll be honest, certain Germains blends are nice. There are also a few that I've tried which I don't like at all. Of course, I do love special Latakia flake, 1820 flake, and in particular Rich Dark flake. But I've not bought any for about a year and a half. One, because it is never in stock, but it now is starting to get in stock, but I can't afford it. I can't afford to go and buy, if there's a drop of Rich Dark flake, I can't afford to go and buy 3 tins of it, because it's the best part of £100 when you add on delivery. to where that's a lot of money for 3 tins of tobacco. If you think in America you can quite happily get a tin of tobacco for $10. Of course, some are more, some are less. But let's say on average you're paying $10 from somewhere like Smoking Pipes. Essentially, you can probably get 12 tins of XYZ or 3 tins of Remains, because that's essentially the cost difference when you account for the exchange of currency. So yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah, I'm not too sure, Cole. I know, of course, that the cost of tobacco in the UK has gone up largely because of taxes. The tax on tobacco is steep and it's only increasing every year because the import duty on tobacco is going up. So tobacco that's been imported is taxed at a higher rate. That's why the cost of cigars in the UK is particularly so expensive. But when it comes to Germains, I don't understand the price. I actually thought about calling them up to see how they're doing, to see if the cost factor is because they might have massively increased bills, for example. Because it is a big difference. Kind of in a market where the cost of tobacco is set by the government, kind of that's why we don't have bulk tobacco, because you're not allowed to sell 50 grams of tobacco for £6. Kind of, it has to be a certain cost essentially. So that of course means that there's a base price, which I believe the base price is like £17. So no matter, so kind of in the UK, you'll never find a pouch or tin of tobacco for under £17. It doesn't exist. But when it comes to Germains, they are essentially now a good £6 or £7 a tin more than the next competitor. Not to mention that if you take someone like, I think it was Solani, was £17.50. That's about a £12 difference. That's a lot. To where I'm not sure what explains their price hike. Of course, it is to do with taxes, but everyone's has gone up, whereas theirs has gone up substantially more. But yeah, interesting one. Food for thought, that one. I might try and do some research, because of course I know Germains is a very prestigious brand, but at the same time they were always priced virtually the exact same as the competition, whereas now they have really shot up through the roof. So I'm interested to find out if there's a reason behind that in particular, rather than just the extra income. But yeah, so that being said, I'm going to wrap up here, guys, get back to work, try and get some of these pipes finished up. Hope you have enjoyed the live, bit of a change of pace being during the day and on a Tuesday, but expect from next week to be back to normal, Monday night at 10 PM UK time. Yeah, take care, have a great rest of your week. Cheers.